Welcome to Weird Shit Wednesday, guys.
We're here, we're weird, and apparently gassy.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Welcome to episode 7.
Yeah!
Woo!
Lucky 7.
We're over halfway through the year. Of our first year. It's wild.
Look at us go.
Look at us go. We haven't quit yet. So, this is episode 7. We're going to get weird and wild. Shall we check out some creature features?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't remember who went last time, but...
I don't either, but I'm happy to
take it away then. Take it away.
Take it away, Ernie.
Beautiful.
Yes. Kane was watching some guy was reviewing all the Harry Potter movies and like picking them apart a little bit, so that's on the brain.
I love that.
I was like, yeah, valid. So, if you guys remember last month, our tarot card was 9 of Stakes, or the 9 of Wands, which was like for perseverance, trials, overcoming things, resilience.
Yep.
Very, very positive.
It was a good card.
I
would definitely, like, if I was getting my tarot read, I'd want that card to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Does not make for easy pickings for this.
No. I really leaned into that trials and tribulations part of it, and I think we're going to have some fun.
All right.
So, as life is, trials and tribulations are a part of our world, both real and imaginary.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little bit of both of that in our day-to-day lives, and also like our fiction and whatnot that we read. So I think this creature I picked fits perfectly.
Love it.
It is rooted in both Egyptian and Greek mythology, so we get a little combination
Love
here.
That.
And this creature is known for its grand stature, a curious body composition,
interesting, love that,
and a penchant for riddles.
This
This cryptid is none other than the Sphinx.
I love the Sphinx.
It's so cool.
He's so cute.
And it's on par for me because I love cats.
Yeah, I mean, it's always funny how, like, there's weird correlations. I also have a cat-themed something coming up.
Oh my god.
Episode.
Let's go.
And the fact that you talked about, like, literal trials, because one of my others actually deals with an actual trial.
Mine too!
Weird.
Oh my god. Guys, if you... Yeah.
It's like our brains are, like, linked somehow. Mm-hmm. We always end up with, like, these weird correlations.
Mm-hmm.
We're just that good.
We are that good.
And I promise we don't plan it, because we're not good enough at planning to do that kind of stuff.
We literally text each other just, like, with, like, a brief...
Yeah, like
word of what our things are, so that we know we're not duplicating, because that's how we figured out we had the same for our Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that would make sense though, because it's like, I mean, when you hear the word Valentine's and weird, like true crime, weird podcast, like St. Valentine's Master is going to be an easy one to cross over, but I think we handle it well.
That's very, very well done. You have wrote a novel.
Well,
I'm looking at her notes, and it's, oh my god, you have like...
I have 8 pages.
Already. So, the Sphinx, I love Sphinx, by the way. People, like the actual cat breed,
they're so cute.
I think they're adorable. Some people don't like them. I think they're so cute. I follow a bunch of people on Instagram that have them with their little sweaters. Alrighty. So, the Sphinx that I'm going to be talking about, like I said, it has both Egyptian and Greek ties, so we're going to get into both a little bit.
Beautiful. As
both cultures have their own depictions of how the Sphinx appears and what its purposes or what its duties include. And they're fairly different. In Greek tradition, the Sphinx is a treacherous and merciless being with the head of a woman, the haunches of a lion, and the wings of a bird.
Odd.
Yeah, it's strange. It's kind of like, oh, we're going to take this piece, mix it all up, boom, there you go. According to Greek myth, she challenges those who encounter her to answer a riddle and kills and eats them if they fail to solve it.
Damn.
I know.
She's brutal.
Like, answer me my question or you my lunch.
If you are stupid, I eat you.
Yes. I mean, if we could do that in the real world, it might weed out some problems.
Okay, maybe I support her more and more. Wait a minute.
In contrast, the Egyptian mythology, the Sphinx is typically depicted as a man, or an androsphinx, so the head of a man instead, and is seen as a benevolent representation of strength and ferocity, usually sharing the likeness of a pharaoh. The Egyptian sphinxes are not winged, so no wings and head of a dude.
I like the Greek one better.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. We might be a little biased.
Feminine energy. Yeah. Wings.
Yeah. Both Greek and Egyptian sphinxes are thought of as guardians, and statues of them often sit in front of entrances to temples. So the largest sphinx you can physically go visit, and I think most people think of when they hear sphinx other than the cat, is that of the Great Sphinx of Egypt, which is located in Giza. The Sphinx is among the world's largest sculptures. It measures about 240 feet long and 66 feet high.
Damn.
Yeah. In comparison, it's about as long as a football field, and then it's about as tall as like a full-grown maple or willow tree.
That's a big-ass cat.
Uh-huh. Big kitty. This statue, it features a lion's body and a human head adorned with a royal headdress. The statue was carved from a single piece of limestone, and pigment residue suggests that the entire Sphinx was painted at some point. I was trying to imagine what that would have looked like.
Yeah, like what colors would they have used?
Yeah, like deep reds, purples, maybe some greens. More than likely, they probably use like sediments from like natural surroundings.
Yeah, the natural colors.
Yeah, how cool would that have been to see? Alrighty. So according to some estimates, they believe that the Sphinx sculpture had took about 3 years and over 100 workers using stone hammers and copper chisels to finish the statue.
That's impressive.
Yeah, like dang, dedication. Most scholars date the Great Sphinx to the 4th dynasty of Egypt, and they credit its design to the ruler Khafre. However, some believe that it was built by Khafre's older brother, Rajadif, to commemorate their father, Khufu, whose pyramid is at Giza and is known as the Great Pyramid, so like one of the largest of them. And so it's kind of supposed to be like commemorating that great leader.
You know, that whole line made a lot of very large objects.
Yes,
they just wonder what they're compensating for. It was right there.
It's a valid question.
Like, oh, like your whole family erected these ginormous sculptures.
Like, look how great I am. Or maybe they're also just showing off, like, hey, we have the skills and the knowledge to do this thing.
Or, hey,
check it out.
I have the slaves that I pay nothing and make do things for me.
Yeah,
it's more accurate.
That's true as well. The dark side of history, man. But we gotta acknowledge it so we can learn from it.
Not that we learn from history, but yeah.
All right. Well, these theorists claim that the face of the Great Sphinx bears more resemblance to Khufu than Khafre, and that observation also led to the speculation that Khufu himself built the statue. So there's some controversy behind who actually designed it. Maybe one person like drew up the idea, and then another person took it and like, well, I like this idea. I'm gonna put my face on it.
This is pre
copyright.
So you know, who knows?
Who knows?
Could have been some random dude just walking by me like, like a giant 66-foot cat thing right there. Yeah, that sounds good.
I've seen some videos of people like generating what they think the nose of the statue would have looked like, because we know it because the nose is gone. Yeah. So they've like kind of like sculpted it and rendered in like 3D modeling what they think it would look like. And I'm like,
I think I like it better without the nose.
Me too.
I've seen those. It's kind of weird with the nose.
It is. It's a little, probably just because we're not used to it, because it's so ingrained in our brain one way. And if you change that, change is hard.
Yeah, change is hard.
Yeah. Well, we're going to change from the Egyptian side of things into the Greek side of things, where we get a little more mystical.
I'm down for it.
In Greek mythology, there is only one famous sphinx who is said to be a sibling of Cerberus.
Ooh.
Yes. So that sphinx and Cerberus, that's kind of funny. Cat, dog.
I was going to say that, scientifically doesn't make sense, but...
Nope, but
that's okay.
It's Greek mythology.
I get it.
It doesn't make sense.
Mythology is not always scientifically implied.
No. So this sphinx in mythology, it turned up in the city of Thebes shortly after its king Laius had been killed on his way to consult with the Delphic oracles. This sphinx flew on top of the city walls and asked all of the Theban youths a riddle. When they could not answer it, she ate them. At that time, Creon, who was the regent of Thebes, he was so desperate to get rid of the Sphinx that he promised the kingship and the hand of the widowed queen in marriage to anyone that could solve the Sphinx's riddle.
Damn.
So big challenge. Like, man, I want this cat out of here. Someone come answer their question, get it right, and I will make you a king and I'll give you a wife.
I wonder if anybody asked the wife.
Yeah. Yeah, what does Queen Jocasta want out of this?
Yeah. She didn't want to marry some random dude who solved a riddle.
Right? Maybe she just secretly went up.
She should have run away with the Sphinx.
Yes. She goes up to the Sphinx and be like, hey, make this riddle extra hard.
Yeah. Hey, make this one unsolvable. And even if they get it right, just tell them they're wrong and eat them for me.
Yes.
And I will let you live here.
I like this theory.
Or have her go solve the riddle and marry herself.
Yeah.
That's what should have happened.
Yes.
I'm guessing that's probably not what happened. But.
No. So, here is the riddle that the Sphinx gave. What goes on 4 feet in the morning, 2 feet in midday, and 3 feet in the evening?
I have heard this riddle before, and I still don't know the answer.
Okay, well, I'm about to give it to you.
Oh, finally.
Yes.
Because I've read this riddle before, and I'm like, I don't have any clue.
So, around this time, this is where Oedipus, who's a big name in Greek mythology.
Real interesting dude. Yep, I have read Oedipus Rex.
Yes, very much so.
Highly recommend. It's good literature, but
strange.
Yeah.
So Oedipus comes to Thebes, and he mostly came to the city because he heard of what was going on with the Sphinx, and he didn't want to go back home to Corinth. So he's like trying to avoid all his responsibilities.
Well, I mean, you fucked your mom, dude. You probably should avoid town.
Yeah, he's hiding there a bit. It's like, what better way to avoid all of that than, hey, maybe go get in your own kingdom.
Yeah, okay.
So he solved the riddle. Oedipus said, the answer is man. A man crawls on all fours in the morning of his life. He walks on 2 feet in the midday of his life, so like adulthood and whatnot.
Adulthood.
And he uses a cane for extra support when he is old, so 3
okay.
in the evening.
I can see that.
The Sphinx was so upset that Oedipus had answered the riddle correctly that she threw herself down from the walls of Thebes and died.
She's a bit of a drama queen.
It's
a little dramatic.
A little dramatic.
It's a riddle.
Yeah. It's a little bit of an overreaction.
You got my riddle right. Throw myself to my death. Imagine if people did that. Like, reacted like that. Like, got so upset because you answered the question they wanted you to answer. That you, like, throw yourself to your death.
I'm imagining, like, the dramatic Disney princess throws, I'm so upset, I'm going to throw myself against the nearest object.
Yes.
And cry. Very much so. Yeah, so that is the tale of the Sphinx and Oedipus in Thebes and their wonderful riddle. This telling and this depiction of the Sphinx has like carried over into a lot of other things, including D&D and that little realm.
All right.
So if you're an avid player like myself, you might find yourself face to face with a similar situation, as it is a very common trope to come across a Sphinx in a dungeon, and you must answer the riddle to progress further, or risks fighting it if you guess wrong. And trust me, you do not want to tangle with one of these because
that sounds unpleasant.
No, it's not fun because in the monster manual for Dungeons and Dragons, Sphinxes have a CR rating, which is a challenge rating of 17.
Damn.
Which is
so you have to roll higher than a 17 to beat them.
Usually, yeah. 17 is like their base armor class. So when you roll, you have to get either a 17 or higher just to hit them.
Just to hit them?
Just to hit them.
Damn. Yeah, you're toast.
Yep. And Sphinxes, they can cast spells, and they have legendary actions, which means they get extra turns on their turn, and they can do some really fucked up things and really mess with you.
I would want to get the riddle correct.
Yeah.
I would be screwed, though, because I'm not good at riddles.
Yeah. So you better be either really good at logic puzzles or have a really strong party and hope to God you don't come across one by yourself, because otherwise, you toast.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Yeah, so that's the Sphinx.
I like it.
Meow meow.
They're very cute. They're a little dramatic.
Oh yeah.
Which fits the cat energy.
That's on par.
You know? I kind of wish there was like a hairball moment at some point.
You know, maybe. You know what? The Sphinx probably did have a hairball moment, but it probably was like human bone and
Just
went out
hack
from
up the leftover,
all the people
all
she's
the
eaten.
hair that it ate.
Yep, because it's a Sphinx. She doesn't have hair.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
There
Also,
you
Sphinx
are.
cats are really cute,
They
and
are.
watching them with their little shower caps when they have to take baths is my favorite thing. If you ever need a pick me up and just need to like feel good about the world, go watch Sphinx cats getting baths with their little shower caps because it's the cutest effing thing I've ever seen. All right, well, your creature was very cute, cuddly, and fun. Mine is not. So I struggled a little bit this month. Usually, like when we have a month and then like a tarot card, like between like maybe some holidays that happen in that month or whatever, I pretty quickly come up with my topics.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's one like outlier that I'm like, I gotta do a little digging. Gonna be honest, I did not do any of this until like 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I struggled a little bit, but I was just randomly Googling, as you do, like, random obscure mythological creatures people have rarely heard of, blah, 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 blah. And I came across a website that had like odd and lesser known like ones. And this one stuck out to me because I was reading it and I was like, April Fool's Day. This creature feels like an April Fool's Day joke. And it's a jokester. It is a jokester creature.
Okay.
It doesn't hurt people. It just likes to play pranks on them in a really awful way.
Mm-hmm.
Just really unpleasant. So I was like, this is perfect. So mine is very April Fool's Day inspired.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're gonna travel to Japan for mine.
Fun.
And we're gonna talk about the Shirime.
Okay. I have not. Okay. I don't think I've heard of this one.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I made a little comment in here when I was researching of like, with April celebrating April Fool's Day, this creature feels like a bad joke, or perhaps something made up by a group of teenage boys. Because, well, you'll see. So the Shirime, or the Nuporibozu, is a type of yokai that likes to scare people late at night, but is otherwise harmless in Japanese mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Yokai are a class of supernatural monsters, spirits, and demons from Japanese folklore. The word yokai is made up of the kanji for bewitching or attractive, calamity, and specter, apparition, mystery, suspicious. So like that kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
They can also be called ayakashi, mononoke, mamono, or yuma. And yokai range eclectically from malevolent spirits to mischievous, or occasionally can bring good fortune to those who encounter them.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this one isn't going to do any of that.
Oh no.
He's just going to leave you scarred for life. That's all I'm going to say. Mentally. So, from a distance, the Shirime appears to be a normal human being.
Mm-hmm.
When close enough, however, it becomes apparent that this is a yokai. It has no facial features, but located in its butthole is a large eye which shines like lightning.
That's uncomfy.
Yep. The Shirime approaches travelers on the road late at night, looking like a man wearing a kimono.
Mm-hmm.
Once it has their attention, it asks them if they have a moment to spare. Before they can answer, the Shirime drops its kimono to the ground, bends over, spreading its butt cheeks to reveal its giant shining eye located inside of its butthole.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, yeah, this is something that a group of like teenage boys.
It literally drops trow and moons you. That's what this creature does. That's all it does. Other than its very startling behavior, Shirime does not do anything harmful. It appears to strive solely on the joy of scaring people. Yep. Although there are very few documented encounters because of its alternate name and its shocking behavior, it is very likely that this Shirime is a close relative of what is called a Noperobo, which is another faceless ghost. In that case, the Shirime's true form may simply be a shape-shifting animal playing a practical joke on humans. The Shirime have been terrorizing Japan with their butt eyes for at least hundreds of years. They aren't dangerous. I said teenage boys. but more of a nuisance. Which, yeah, if you're coming at me butthole first, nuisance is the least I'm gonna call you.
Yeah.
That's like bare minimum. But supposedly the earliest known appearance was recorded in the works of Yosa Nobusan, a poet from the Edo period, which is around between 1603 to 1868. That's the Edo period.
Mm-hmm.
Yosa Nobusan is known for his profound contributions to art and the shirime apparent in many of his illustrations on his scrolls. Currently, there are no mentions of shirime prior to this in any known folklore. But you may ask yourself, why an eye in the butt? Personally, I have no idea, but yokai can be quite bizarre. There is one theory, however, that it may have inspired this creature because there are some Japanese folklore traditions that claim that your soul is located up your butt.
Interesting.
Something to do with, and that this might be a play on the idea of like the eyes are the window to the soul, but in like joke form because it's an eye in the butthole.
Yeah, and like that's a place where people usually don't look and or don't want to look.
Yes.
Okay.
But if you are wanting a little more time with Butthole Dude, in 2023, there's a PC game called Shirime, The Curse of Butt Eye, that was released based on this legend and starring the Shirime monster. And Shirime 2, Origins of Butt Eye, is coming soon.
Oh my god, they made a sequel?
They did a sequel! And I may or may not have done a deep dive on YouTube and found some playthrough videos of this. So we're gonna watch a little bit of this video game together real quick here.
This is payback for the doll, isn't it?
This part might be payback for the doll.
What the hell? I was in the middle of swallowing and I just choked on spit.
So it looks like a pretty decently made game.
Yeah.
No, wait. Hold on.
And it walks at you butt first. I love that.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So it's just a giant butt with arms and legs.
Supposed to just scare me.
There was an eye. I saw the
There is an eye in the butthole.
You're a prankster.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So that is the game.
Well, not my genre of games that I play, but
no. But
it looked well made.
It looks well made, and apparently there was several videos of full playthroughs, at least 8 videos of different people playing through the whole game. So it's got a following. But yeah, that is the Shirime, and look for Origins of Butt Eye coming soon, I guess. All right. Well, we've been to Greece, Egypt, and Japan so far. Should we travel elsewhere in the world?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Who should go first for this one?
Down for either. Rock, paper, scissors?
All right. It never ends well.
We know.
Right, here we go.
This goes. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Every damn time we play the same one. All right.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay.
All right. I'm going first.
Okay.
Finally, we only had to do it twice this time. We're getting better. All right. So, we are going to travel a couple different places for my What in the World. Because I kind of got sucked down the hole on the internet that has to do with strange but true news stories.
Mm-hmm.
And it all started with some news articles that have been popping up lately that I am personally dubbing Jurassic World IRL, but cuter.
Okay.
Question mark. So this is the news article. It started all. It's from CNN. And it reads, I'm just going to read the news article because I think it does a better job explaining than I ever will.
Okay.
So according to CNN, a species of wolf that died out some 12,500 years ago lives again as the world's first successfully de-extincted animal, according to Dallas-based biotech company Colossal Biosciences. Colossal scientists have created 3 dire wolf pups by using ancient DNA cloning, and gene editing technology to alter the genes of a gray wolf, the prehistoric dire wolf's closest living relative.
Mm-hmm.
The company announced this Monday, which was Monday of this past week.
Yep.
This results in essentially a hybrid species similar in appearance to its extinct forerunner. The dire wolf, Anoscion dirus, I don't know if I pronounced that right, the scientific names or whatever, but something like that, which was the inspiration for the fearsome canine creatures in the HBO TV series Game of Thrones. Love Game of Thrones. Was a top predator that once roamed North America. Dire wolves were larger in size than the gray wolves and had a slightly wider head, light, thick fur, and a stronger jaw.
Mm-hmm.
Colossal has been working towards resurrecting the mammoth, the dodo, and the Tasmanian tiger, which I didn't even know there was a Tasmanian tiger, but I'm intrigued.
Oh yeah, it's cool. If you've seen pictures,
okay,
you should look up pictures of it.
The dodo confounds me a little bit because, like, why are we bringing that dum dum back?
I mean, do we actually have any like closely related
I don't know,
present relatives? Because I think that's a. Kane was talking to me about this a little bit, like needing.
You have to have something closely related.
Yeah, you have to have something closely related or like living DNA.
I feel like there's enough weird bird species in this world. They probably got something relatively
Yeah, they gotta
close.
be something.
Yeah, I don't know. But the dodo just doesn't, like, why do we want to bring that up?
Yeah, they were so dumb. They
literally extincted themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think the kiwi bird is technically related to them. So maybe they're used. I don't know.
We'll find out.
We'll find out if it works. But yeah, so they've been working on these since 2021, but have not publicly publicized their work on dire wolves until now. Ben Lamb, the Colossal's co-founder and CEO, said in a news release, quote, "Our team took DNA from a 13,000-year-old tooth and a 72,000-year-old skull and made healthy dire wolf puppies. 3 dire wolves are living on a 2,000-acre site in an undisclosed location, enclosed by a 10-foot-tall zoo-grade fence, where they are monitored by security personnel, drones, and live camera feeds." Colossal said the facility has been certified by the American Humane Society and registered with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So at least they're doing things up and up. Using ancient DNA extracted from 2 dire wolf fossils, Colossal scientists and collaborators said that they were able to assemble 2 high-quality genomes or complete sets of genetic information. The team compared the genomes with those of living canids such as wolves, jackals, and foxes to identify the genetic variants from traits specific to dire wolves, such as white coats and longer, thicker fur. Dire wolves and gray wolves share 99.5% of their DNA, according to the company's release, so they're pretty closely related.
Interesting.
The company then used that information from the genetic analysis to alter gray wolf cells, making 20 edits into 14 genes before cloning the most promising cell lines and transferring those into donor eggs from domestic dogs. Healthy developed embryos were then transferred into domestic dogs, specifically large mixed breed hounds, that acted as surrogates. Researchers completed 8 transfers in total with an average of 45 embryos in each attempt. 2 male dire wolf pups were born on October 1st, 2024, and a female pup was born on January 30th, 2025. To achieve its goal, the company essentially created a hybrid genome using CRISPR, or CRISPR technology, to cut away certain gray wolf gene variants and replace them with traits associated with the dire wolves, said a professor at evolutionary genomics based in the Center for Paleogenetics at Stockholm University. He is an advisor to Colossal.
Okay.
The debate over whether the wolves are a carbon copy of their extinct forerunners misses the point, he says, adding that the team had been successful in resurrecting the functional essence of the dire wolf.
Okay.
Colossal has raised at least $435 million mammoth at that time. That was like their first project.
Okay.
That endeavor has taken longer than they initially projected, but the company is saying it's on track to introduce the first woolly mammoth calves in 2028.
Interesting.
Which, those ones I'm kind of curious about. Like,
yeah,
I'm down for a woolly mammoth reboot.
Mm-hmm.
The company hopes that technologies that created the dire wolf can directly help endangered animals as well. Colossal said on Monday it has produced 2 litters of cloned red wolves, the most critically endangered wolf species, using a new, less invasive technique.
Mm-hmm.
Other potential uses include editing harmful mutations out of populations of threatened species and introducing traits that may help rare species adapt to environmental change. So I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
not,
pluses and minuses.
There's good to this. I'm not fully on board, but I'm all kind of okay. Many critics of de-extinction argue that the huge sums of money invested in the project could be better spent elsewhere, and that raising and breeding the hybrid creatures could imperil living animals used as surrogates, which is valid.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's where we are. So it's, we're kind of TBD on any others coming, but I just thought it was interesting that, like, it wasn't that long ago. I remember, like, when I was a kid, it was a super big thing when they talked about, like, they cloned the first sheep.
Yeah, I've seen Dolly.
Dolly the sheep is, and how that was a big, like, sparked so much controversy and conversation. And I feel like this is, like, our next step in that evolutionary chain of, like, we've already cloned shit. Now we're, like, fucking with DNA, and it's like,
because there's pluses and minuses to it. I had a kind of a debate question I had to answer in my biology course last semester, specifically about, like, this topic, because, like,
perfect.
Yes, CRISPR is a great tool because now that we've sequenced the human genome.
Yep.
So we know, like, every bit of our DNA and what sequence it's supposed to be, and the, like, ethical side of it, like, okay, this is great info. Can we or should we use it to alter things?
Yeah.
Because yes, in theory, if, like, a genetic mutation is caught in utero, in theory, CRISPR could be used to delete that mutation and hopefully prevent some like defects or things like that, or some congenital conditions. Which, on the positive side, great, but on one hand, who regulates it? Who gets to choose who gets to use the CRISPR or not? Who gets access to it or not?
Right.
There's, like, this.
It comes down to that, like, that shit's not cheap.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be just another, like, fancy tool for the rich, which in this country we don't need.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
I do like the idea of, like, because I know, like, they figured out that, like, Alzheimer's can be tied genetically in certain cancers. Like, it would be cool if we had access, like, blanket access for everybody, where you could, when in utero, test for those, like, markers, and then, like, eliminate the future of, like, people getting these types of cancer or Alzheimer's.
Exactly.
I like that side of it, and I think that would be a very useful approach and, like, application of CRISPR. But again, I think it should be accessible to everybody. Like, and I know that, like, eventually it probably would get to that point, because any technology eventually, as technology progresses, becomes obsolete enough that, like, everybody has access to it. Like, computers used to be so fucking expensive, and they, like, one person in, like, the state would have one because they were so expensive, and now everybody has one in their hand. So, like, but it's just, like, can we get there fast enough where it's actually useful and helpful? Exactly.
And how do we regulate it along that way so it doesn't get to the dystopian level like the pretties?
Yes. Or like my book, Wretched. So interesting that we're talking about this.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating. But yeah, so there's, like, all those applications. Also, then, you have to worry about, like, the Jurassic Park of it all.
Yeah, I don't need no extinct bugs or giant velociraptors coming at me.
Yeah, I don't want to see a T-Rex wandering down my. But anyway, so interesting topic. I do have two more. One is kind of like a feel-good one, so I put that one in the middle, and I think you'll appreciate this one.
Okay.
So my next article comes from NPR, and the title is "Retired Diplocat Sworn in to New Office in Bermuda."
Oh, Kitty in the office.
So retirement isn't for everyone, NPR says. Just ask Palmerston the cat, who formerly served as the chief mouser for the UK's Foreign Commonwealth Office in London. After a few years enjoying the life of leisure, the Diplocat, named for the country after the country's longest-serving foreign secretary, is back on the job, this time in Bermuda. The former rescue joined the diplomatic service in 2016 and gained a large following online with his charming cat tales and for fulfilling his duty with charisma and a devoted work ethic. Since retiring in 2020, Palmerston has lived with his former co-worker Andrew Murdoch and his family and shared the occasional online update with his leisurely country life.
Aww.
Murdoch, who was recently sworn as the new governor of Bermuda, convinced Palmerston to leave retirement and join his administration as a feline relations consultant.
Aww.
Palmerston isn't the only British cat in a public-facing government role. Larry the cat is the current chief mouser at number 10 Downing Street, the residence and home office of the British Prime Minister. The 18-year-old tabby, a fellow rescue, has served in his role through 6 prime ministers for a total of 14 years.
All right.
Tensions between the bureaucracy cats have at times boiled over publicly. Felines have a history of catfights. but were ultimately united by a shared sense of duty, service, and a love of a good spot of sunshine for lounging in.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, and he's the cutest kitty. If you look him up, I'll show you a picture of
Kitty
Palmerston
Cat's
later.
in Office, yes.
Yes, and he like there is a long-standing history in England. I did not know this until I found this article. Did a little digging of like cats as official like officers of the court.
I love
The
it.
final one is a little less cheery.
Okay. Bring down the mood.
So the final, I've titled this one myself, saying "Chasing Bigfoot could cost you your life and $1,000 fine."
Oh,
this is also from NPR.
Mm-hmm.
Their title was "Two Men Found Dead from Exposure After Looking for Sasquatch."
Oh no.
2 men from Oregon who went missing after going on a search for Sasquatch have been found dead, Washington state officials announced on Saturday. The men, both from Portland, bit of a connection there, were reported missing by a family member on Christmas Day and were set to return from searching for the legendary creature in eastern Skamania County on Christmas Eve, according to the county sheriff's office. The search was launched and a vehicle associated with the 2 men was found off-road near Willard, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
After a 3-day search involving more than 60 people, the bodies of both men, ages 37 and 59, were found in Gifford-Pinchot National Forest, located in the southwestern part of Washington state in a heavily wooded area, according to the county sheriff's office. The cause of death appears to be because of exposure based on weather conditions and ill preparedness. The sheriff's office said the area had faced rounds of snow and rain with temperatures in the 30s across the Cascades in the days leading up to the men being reported missing. The search for the men also took place amid difficult terrain and harsh weather conditions, as crews faced conditions such as freezing temperatures, snow, high water levels, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Sasquatch, commonly known as Bigfoot, is a large, hairy figure, which, if you don't know this, where you've been for the last 100 years, that resembles a human and is thought to live in northwestern parts of the U.S. and Canada. The existence of Bigfoot has been debated for decades, and many have reported sightings of the creature. More than 700 reports of Bigfoot sightings in Washington state have been submitted to the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. Yes, that's a real organization. In Skamania County, however, harming Bigfoot is punishable by a $1,000 fine and can include jail time, according to the county's Chamber of Commerce. It is a law meant to protect the mysterious creature and to prevent hunters from accidentally getting shot. So,
that's unfortunate that those 2 gentlemen met their demise in that way, but at the same time, like,
however, if you're gonna go traipsing through the woods in search of anything,
maybe be a little more prepared
in December,
like in the woods, in the mountains.
Yeah, it's the Cascades.
Yeah,
this is not like a field in like the southern part of the United States where it's gonna be like 60 degrees in December. Mm-mm. Like, this is not warm weather.
No.
I mean, it's not like Minnesota winter, but like it's still not warm.
No.
So, like, you know, they say Darwinism is real. And I just feel like this is a prime example of Darwinism. However, it does inspire me to maybe when we come visit you in Portland, maybe we go on a little Bigfoot hunt.
Yeah.
We won't harm him, though, because I don't want $1,000 fine or jail time.
I can't afford that. I'm going to be in grad school. I can't afford that.
Maybe we go hunt for Bigfoot a little bit.
Yeah. Fun
Preparedly hunt for Bigfoot with snacks and warm clothing and
caffeine.
A vat of coffee.
We are going to Antarctica.
I'm going to need a parka.
Yep. And a lot more than that. We are talking about a specific explorer by the name of Ben Saunders. He is a British citizen who is one of only 3 people in documented history to solo ski both North and South Pole, and holds the world record for longest ever polar journey on foot.
Why?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yep. I found Mr. Saunders because I had Googled examples of human trials and human perseverance.
Yeah, okay. With the I see where you're going with this. Yep, yeah, that makes sense.
Just like, what are some crazy, weird things that humans have done? Like, people climb Everest. People will go caving and things like that. Like, what's an extreme thing someone has done just for the love and the passion and like the discovery of it? All right. So I found Mr. Saunders. For a little history and a source of his inspiration, back in late March of 1912, a gentleman by Captain Scott and his teammates Henry Bowers and Edward Wilson died on Antarctica's Ross Ice Shelf. They were exhausted, frostbitten, and starved.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Antarctica.
The men there had perished, pinned down in their tents by a raging storm, 11 miles short of a deposit of food and fuel that would have ensured their survival.
Damn.
They died after covering nearly 1,600 miles on foot in the most challenging conditions on Earth, and their planned return journey to the South Pole on foot remained unfinished for over 102 years until Saunders and his teammate, Tarka Lahirfami, I apologize if I butchered your last name there, completed it in February of 2014.
Damn.
Yeah. So this pair, they spent nearly a decade preparing for this. So this wasn't like a spur of the moment. I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna fly down to Antarctica and I'm gonna
I think
trek
something
this.
to like legit prepare for.
Yeah.
It gets cold there.
Yes. So I've got a little bit of info on what they did to prepare, and then kind of some info about how their journey went and what the conditions they had to endure.
All right.
In a couple of interviews, Saunders recounts his dress rehearsals, as he called them, to get ready for his trip, where he would travel to Greenland, testing everything from thermal underwear to Caravas rescues, drills, and a lot of physical and mental training went into this.
That makes
He'd
sense.
run, cycle, skied tens of thousands of miles in training, lifting hundreds of cumulative tons of weights in the gym, like preparing, because
you gotta be fit.
Yeah.
Like
they planned to fully drag their sleds on foot. So no motorized vehicles.
Nope.
Their plan to do this was to be unassisted, meaning they were bringing everything they needed. They were bringing in themselves.
Okay.
Like
that's wild.
No food drops, no med checks, no like people like coming in. Like they were doing this all on their own. That was the goal. Some other things that Saunders and their team did to help prepare for this, they worked closely with scientists to help develop a special freeze-dried meals that contain special branched chain amino acids. I'm not 100% sure what that means, but I'm sure that means that the food that they were eating was going to be able to distribute energy better and like better fuel their body.
I know they do a lot of that stuff in like protein powders and stuff like gym bros will use to like certain amino acids help you like burn calories a certain way or like give you energy boosts or I don't know much about it. I just know it ties in with that somehow.
Yeah, he said our expedition has more in common with space travel than early 20th century explorers dragging sleds, quotes Saunders.
That's wild.
Performance was our watchword. So that was like kind of like the encompassing word of inspiration going into this. Like, what is their performance going into this? What can I do to perform better and improve and whatnot? He quotes, "We were trying to travel further than anyone had traveled before under their own power in the toughest place on the planet. We pulled nothing extraneous on our journey, and we became obsessive in seeking the slimmest of marginal gains." So whatever they could like minimize on something on their sleds that were like specially made for them.
Yeah.
And they were made of like Kevlar.
Damn.
So like
which is heavy in itself.
Heavy in itself, but it was sturdy because
it's built well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be dragged across snow and ice, and
Lord knows what else, rocks, and frozen poop, and
you better make sure that shit's strong. But they were very meticulous in what they were bringing in, making sure that nothing excessive
that makes sense
was there.
Yeah.
So they began their journey on October 26th of 2013. They set out from Ross Island, which is, I think, a little like inlet of Antarctica, and their goal was to trek all the way on foot to the South Pole, which is the center, and then back.
Oof. No.
Yeah, the whole way. And the goal, reach the South Pole and back unassisted. As I said, no airdrops, no med checks. Everything that's on their own.
Bananas.
It is nutty. Conditions they endured were temperatures as low as negative 70 degrees Celsius with wind chill. Nope. Yeah, no thank you.
What is that in Fahrenheit? I'm curious.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to look it up.
Look it up. The constant physical exertion from dragging 200 kilograms, which is close to 440 pounds. So dragging these sleds containing everything they needed to survive Antarctica's vast frozen wilderness for nearly 4 months. How much is that in negative? Or in
minus 94 degrees Fahrenheit.
Holy!
So you might as well minus 100.
Yes.
Like, more or less.
Yeah, so basically, you a popsicle.
No, I don't go outside if it gets like single digits.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna be hibernating when it's below 10, and that's even cold. Like, I'll tolerate it, but no, you couldn't pay me to step foot outside for 30 seconds in that temperature.
Ditto. I'm like, no,
thank you, no sorry, Bob.
No, thank you. Yeah, like it goes without saying, these two definitely endured.
Kudos to them, but also, y'all fucking crazy.
Like, oh, okay, that's a choice. This is a choice.
That is one hell of a choice.
Yeah.
It makes me question your mental stability.
We get into that a little bit.
I'm sure it probably fucked with their brains.
Oh yeah,
that cold.
Absolutely. Being that cold, no doubt they're like in a severe amount of pain, like the muscle soreness, fatigue, everything, and being at constant risk for hypothermia with temperatures that low.
Yeah.
The two did encounter near starvation.
Yeah.
They ran out of food, and they needed a resupply, which ended up breaking the intended unassisted trek. So there was an interview where Saunders kind of goes into that, having to make that decision and kind of the mental strain
that fight between like wanting to finish the goal you set, but then also knowing like
exactly
it would kill us probably if we did. I can see that.
Exactly. So
it's not worth dying for.
No, it's not. So I'm going to read a little bit from that interview.
Beautiful.
And his recounting of it. 10 weeks into the expedition, on January 2nd, 2014, I was forced to make one of the toughest decisions of my life, other than going to Antarctica.
I mean, right, yeah.
Yeah. A choice that brought me face to face with this single-minded drive for perfection. Caught in bad weather and traveling far slower than we anticipated, we realized we would run out of food before reaching the first of the 10 caches we had buried in on our outward journey to the South Pole. So on their way in from Ross Island to the South Pole, they left little caches of food.
Smart.
So that way they didn't have to carry all of it to the South Pole.
That's very smart.
And then on their way back, they could just, here's my spot.
Here's our spot.
Dig up the food, eat it.
And it would be less to carry at one point. Okay, that's pretty, I mean, that's smart planning.
Yeah. Yes, but on their return journey, they were, I think they got caught up in some storms. So their progress was a lot slower.
Weather.
Yeah. So they didn't have enough to get to the first of those caches. Yep. We were forced to call for assistance and had food airdropped in order for us to make it back to the coast. At the time, it felt like a compromise, like a failure. My dream had been to make this journey with no outside support, and here we were calling for help. Now, 3 years on, I look back on that moment as one of the proudest decisions of my life. Scott had support, albeit with teams hauling supplies rather than by airplane. Scott being the captain that initially inspired this journey. Albeit with teams hauling supplies rather than by airplane, but I still couldn't I couldn't help seeing it as a flaw in my achievement. I wrote a diary every evening on that expedition, and I asked myself, if performance is doing, how do we know the right thing to do? Now my head is clear and my body is recovering. I think of status and records and achievement and impermanence. Every gold medal one day ends up in a collector's cabinet, an auction lot, or a drawer in an antique shop. Trophies oxidize, the ribbons of rosettes curl and fade. I don't know where my proudly won scout badges are now. Yet, of course, perfection can never really be reached. Contentment is either here today, with the striving and the mess we all inhabit, all open loops and half-finished lists and could do better next times, or we will never find it. The biggest lessons, to me at least, of this very long, very hard walk are perhaps...
Understatement of the century.
Right? Let's just brisk it up.
It's just a hard walk. No big deal.
It just went out for a brisk walk.
10 weeks. Plus, because 10 weeks is where they are, like...
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep. The biggest lesson
My
to me.
creaky ass could never.
No, same. Wait,
Sorry.
oh, you're good. And the biggest lesson to me, at least, of this very long, very hard walk are perhaps that compassion is more important than glory. Friendship and kindness and taking care of each other matter more than achievement or status. The joy of being outdoors and alive in the wild, pushing ourselves harder than anyone will ever understand, will, I think, in time prove more wholesome and satisfying than the pride of any public recognition on our homecoming.
Damn. All right.
So a lot of introspective there, like going from this mindset of being, nope, we have
to do it exactly right.
We have to do this perfect. We have to do it the exact way I have planned. And then being able to accept, nope, I need to change course a little bit. I need to shift my mindset. Otherwise, A, we're not going to survive, or B, the goal's not going to be obtained.
Imagine that. If only so many people in this world could have that idea of, like, it's okay to change your mindset a little bit.
Okay.
For the betterment of all.
Exactly. You can shift your mindset and still achieve your goals. It might not be what you originally set it out to be, but that's the world. Everything. Saunders today is a motivational speaker. I'm hosting several TED Talks about his journey and the importance of perseverance and shifting your perspective of what success is.
Love that.
Yeah.
Good for him.
He's
fucking crazy.
Yeah,
but good for him.
You're not catching me going down to Antarctica, any of that. No, thank you.
I will pile
good on you.
Recycling on my back porch in the winter if it's too cold out to walk across my yard until it's a warmer day, and then I'll haul it out. Like, I'm not walking anywhere in the cold.
Yeah, no. So, yeah. Want to take a brisk walk around Antarctica?
Hell no.
No.
I don't even want to visit Antarctica. I don't want to go anywhere. Like, the furthest cold region I visit is where I currently live. Like, this is the coldest I will tolerate.
Yeah, same.
And thank you to global warming, it's actually not been that bad the last couple of years.
Good on you, Saunders.
Bravo, dude.
Gold star. And good on you for realizing that and being able to adjust your plans and to be able to take that message to others. Like, hey, it's okay. Change your mindset.
You still did the damn thing, even if you needed an airdrop.
Exactly.
Should we transition to some spooky spotlight?
Yes, shine that spotlight on something spooky.
All right, who wants to go first on this one?
I can go.
All right.
Alrighty. Well, we're sticking to the theme with the trials and
Oh, you really leaned in. I love it.
In hard.
This last one is the only one I tied into our tarot cards. So.
And we are getting into an actual murder trial.
Ooh, mine is also a murder trial.
Excellent.
It's not the same one.
Okay. Good deal. So this case took place in 1994. It was a
I was 5 years old.
You were 5?
I was born in 89.
Oh, that's right. I did not exist yet.
Sucks to be you.
I was not even an inkling of a thought at this year.
I was in kindergarten.
I love it. The case had already drawn significant public attention due to the violent nature of the crime, but it was the actions of 4 jurors after the verdict that shocked the legal system. These jurors admitted to making a makeshift Ouija board in their hotel room during the trial, claiming they were attempting to contact the spirits of the victims.
I mean, that's one way to get the answers.
It's a choice. According to it's like, and as we've said before, don't mess with Ouija boards.
No.
So here's what went down in their hotel room.
Oh, I bet this is gonna get wild.
Yeah, because like during the trial, all the jurors, people in the jury, they had to stay at this hotel, so that way they're not being out
for capital crimes. They sequester the jury.
Yep, they got to keep them isolated so they're not being influenced by outside
by the media and outside. Yeah,
all that good jazz.
One of the many reasons I never want to be a jury.
Ditto.
I want to do like a small case.
Yeah,
the one where I could stay at home. But, like, I don't want to have to, like, leave my house.
True.
For, like, an undetermined amount of time.
Yeah, pass on that.
The doggies would not stand for it.
No, definitely not. So, According to reports, while the rest of the jury slept, 4 jurors created a Ouija board out of paper and used a wine glass as a planchette. So this is already off to a very janky, bad start.
Yeah, all right.
One juror recounts that they each put a finger on the top of the glass and asked the spirit to guide the glass over the letters of the alphabet and the word yes or no as they answered questions. The spirit that supposedly communicated with them identified itself via the glass as Harry Fuller, one of the victims. Bum, bum, bum. When asked who killed you, the glass spelled out Stephen Young did it. When asked how,
It's very specific.
Yeah, it's very, very specific. When asked how, the glass spelled shot, which is true. Both victims were shot, and so that was the cause of death. When the jurors discussed what they should do, the glass spelled out vote guilty tomorrow. Lot of letters.
That's a lot of letter. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also information that all the jurors had access to.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had a vendetta.
Yeah, there's definitely there's some side things with this.
Yeah.
Reports go on to say, at the end of the seance, some of the jurors were crying, and a few jurors would later say they felt they had gone too far.
You went too far when you started writing down the letters on the piece of paper. That's too far.
Mm-hmm. This act of supernatural consultation, completely outside of legal procedure, raised serious concerns about the integrity of the trial. The revelation, which surfaced just a month after the verdict, led to the conviction being overturned and a retrial being ordered.
Okay.
At the second trial, without ghostly interference, Stephen Young was once again found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment. However, the bizarre events surrounding the first trial remain one of the most infamous examples of juror misconduct in UK legal history. The case sparks a debate about
That's the most wild version of juror misconduct.
Right?
Like, if you this was the United States, it'd be like, so-and-so was sleeping with so-and-so and murdered their husband while on jury duty.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that the UK is like, this is one of the wildest. I was like, it's so sweet. That's so sweet.
It's funny.
That's so cute.
The case sparks debate about the reliability of jury deliberations and prompted discussions about how to safeguard the justice system from such irregularities. It remains a cautionary tale of how superstition and personal beliefs can dangerously interfere with judicial process.
I love that.
So maybe don't consult with spirits.
Ouija board consultations to yourself.
Yes. Keep that to yourselves. To be bringing that into trials and whatnot. Because, what if they had...
honestly, that could apply to all religions.
Exactly. But, what if they had, since they overturned the initial conviction, say they redid the trial and Stephen Young was found not guilty, but he actually didn't.
Yeah, and the murderer is set free because your little shenanigans with one too many glasses of wine, clearly.
Exactly. I'm sure if Young had a really good lawyer, they probably could have spun it in a way this is complete hearsay, or nope, they're incompetent jurors and whatnot. They're not listening to the actual facts of the case. They're consulting spirits.
It's wild.
I'm sure that info probably had to be kept out of the second trial. So they probably had to go through a whole new jury selection.
I'm sure. Usually it would be a new jury for each trial.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure. So. I've heard that some high capital cases like that, it can take up to a year or two to find people for the jury because they need to find people that
you can't have any prior knowledge.
Exactly. You can't have read anything about it. You can't have seen anything on the news.
Yep.
If you have even an inkling, you're disqualified.
You can't. Yeah, it's so when there's high profile cases, it's so hard to find juries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's nutty. So I'm sure this blew up. And
I'm sure
UK is an island, so
it's not, and it's not a large country.
No, it's not.
So
Scotland itself is about the same size as Minnesota.
That's wild.
I know, it was nutty when I was there visiting and living there for study abroad. When I would talk to my Scottish friends about oh yeah, I would drive 3 hours to go visit family for the weekend. And they'd be like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a day trip. They're like, I see my cousin or whatever who lives 3 hours away from me once every 2 years because traveling and whatnot is so different.
It's not, but nothing, I mean, short of like Australia or like Asia, like there aren't other countries that are massive on our scale other than like Canada.
Right. So I'm sure news flew, so that probably took a while to retrial.
Yeah.
But dang.
That's bananas.
Yeah, keep your Ouija boards out of the courtroom.
Ouija is a good segue into what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
Because I'm going to talk about demonic possession. A specific demonic possession. Because my spooky spotlight also has to do with a trial. So this is the only one I tied into our tarot card. Like I said, I just really struggled with the tarot card this month. But because of the like trial, tribulation, overcoming like hard times, pushing through kind of thing, did bring me to this particular story. And we are going to talk about the story of Annalise Michel.
Okay.
Who is one of the most infamous cases of demonic possession in history.
Oh.
Yes. So I went throughout, I did some research on the Nine of Wands. One of the things it can be representative of is signifying a time when an individual is being tested, but they refuse to give up.
Okay.
And this is a perfect example of that because Annalise, her full name is Anna Elizabeth Michel, but she went by Annalise, underwent 67 exorcisms.
Dang.
Yes. Over the course of 1 year.
What?
Yep.
Oh my.
You heard that right. 67 exorcisms.
I'm going to do some math here real quick.
Yep. And actually, it was actually 10 across 10 months.
Oh, that's
so not even a full year.
Not even a full year. Oh my god,
the
that's
same year.
Nutty. So on average, every 18 days, she had an exorcism.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So Annalise was a German woman born on September 21st, 1952. When Michelle was, when she was 16, she experienced a seizure and was diagnosed with psychosis caused by temporal lobe epilepsy.
Ooh.
Shortly thereafter, she was diagnosed with depression and was treated at a psychiatric hospital. By the time she was 20 years old, she'd become intolerant of various religious objects and began to hear voices. Her condition worsened despite medication, and she became suicidal, also displaying other symptoms for which she took medication as well. After taking these psychiatric meds for 5 years with zero improvement of her symptoms, Annalise and her family became convinced she was possessed by a demon.
Okay.
As a result, her family appealed to the Catholic Church for an exorcism, which, trigger warning, if you feel very strongly in favor of the Catholic Church, I'm going to say some pretty unkind things about them, so maybe don't listen further. Anyway, they were rejected at first, but 2 priests got permission from the local bishop in 1975 and began performing exorcisms at this time, and the family stopped consulting with doctors.
Okay.
Annalise stopped eating food and died of malnourishment and dehydration after 67 exorcism sessions. Michelle's parents and the 2 Catholic priests were found guilty of negligent homicide and were sentenced to 6 months in jail.
6 months?
Which was then reduced to 3 years of probation, as well as a fine.
Oh my god.
The Catholic Church retracted the claim that she was possessed, of course they did, and has since described her as, quote, mentally ill.
Of course, they're going to take any of their own part in the story and say, oh, it wasn't us, it was all them.
The priest, Father Ernst Alt, declared that Annalise didn't look like an epileptic, because you can look like an epileptic.
Oh, like I can look like I don't have EDS or I don't have POTS. Like,
he just looked at her. He knew. He just knew. And that he did not observe her experiencing seizures. Alt believed that she was suffering from demonic possession and urged the local bishop to allow an exorcism. In a letter to Alt in 1975, Annalise wrote, "I am nothing. Everything about me is vanity. What should I do? I have to improve. Please pray for me." And she once told him, quote, "I want to suffer for other people, but this is cruel." In September of 1975, Bishop Joseph Stangl granted Father Arnold Renz permission to perform an exorcism according to the Ritual Romanum, but ordered total secrecy. Shocker. Renz performed the first session on the 24th of September of that year. And Annalise began increasingly speaking about, quote, dying to atone for the wayward youth of the day and the apostate priest of the modern church. Her parents stopped consulting doctors at her request and relied solely on the exorcism rites to treat her. A total of 67 exorcism sessions, 1 or 2 each week, lasting up to 4 hours each, were performed over approximately a 10-month span in 1975 and 1976. Toward the end of her life, she began to refuse food. On July 1st, 1976, Annalise died in her home. The autopsy report stated the cause of death as malnutrition and dehydration, resulting from almost a year in a state of near starvation while the rites of exorcism were performed. At her death, mind you, this is a mid-20-year-old, so someone your age, she weighed 66 pounds.
Holy shit.
She had suffered broken knees from continuous genuflections and was unable to move without assistance and had pneumonia.
Oh.
After investigation, the state prosecutor maintained that her death could have been prevented at least late as 1 week before her death.
Wow.
In 1976, the state charged her parents and both priests, Ernst Alt and Arnold Renz, with negligent homicide. The parents were defended by the famed Nuremberg trials defense attorney Erich Schmidt-Lechner, and the priest defense counsel was paid for by the church. The state recommended that none of the involved parties be jailed. Instead, the recommended sentence for the priest was a fine, while the prosecution concluded that the parents should be exempt from punishment as they, quote, had suffered enough. Bullshit. And this was a mitigating legal factor in the German penal law. So again, different country, they have different codes of law, whatever, anyway.
Yeah.
In 1977, on July 14th, the New York Times article reported that the prosecutor had announced that the 2 Roman Catholic priests had been charged with negligent homicide in the death of Annalise Michel, who had undergone exorcism. The trial began on March 30th, 1978, and drew a lot of interest. It was a pretty widely publicized trial.
Yeah.
Doctors testified that Annalise was not possessed, stating that the manifestations of demonic possession were a psychological effect of both her strict religious upbringing as well as her epilepsy. Dr. Richard Roth, who had Alt, one of the priests had consulted with for medical help, allegedly had told Annalise during the exorcism that there is no injection against the devil, Annalise. So I don't know that was very helpful. The prosecutor who represented the parents argued that the exorcism was legal and that the German Constitution protected citizens in the unrestricted exercising of their religious beliefs. The defense played tapes recorded at the exorcism sessions, sometimes featuring what was claimed to be, quote, demons arguing, to assert their claim that she was in fact possessed. Both priests...
You know, doesn't prove anything, though, because you can throw your voice and, like, 2 people could just be sitting there, writing off a script, arguing with each other.
Both priests claim that the demons identifying themselves as, quote, Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot, Adolf Hitler, and Nero, among others.
That's an assortment.
Yeah, right? They also stated that Annalise was finally freed of demonic possession resulting from the exorcism just before her death.
Oh, goody. So she got, like, a day's peace before dying.
Yeah, if that. Literally, probably.
In their opinion.
Moments. Yeah. Bishop Stengel, who had first approved the exorcisms, said he was not aware of her alarming health conditions when he approved of these exorcisms and refused to testify in court. In April 1978, the parents and the 2 priests were convicted and were given suspended prison sentences in order to share the cost of the legal proceedings. The sentences have been described as, quote, stiffer than those requested by the prosecutor, who had asked that the priests only be fined and the parents be found guilty but not punished. Which, I'm sorry, you literally murdered this child. I mean, she wasn't a child, she was a grown up, but still, like,
yeah, but still, she's your child.
If she had 2 broken knees and was 66 pounds, like, most people during exorcisms are restrained.
Yeah.
So she more or less was restrained for 10 straight months. She couldn't move without
That's
assistance.
torture.
She was tortured to death. But let's not punish the parents. I'm sorry. This is
enough.
a topic that gets me fired up because while I do personally believe in the potential of demonic possession, I do think it's a very rare thing.
Mm-hmm.
But true demonic possession, I think it's possible. People use religion as a shield way too much to protect them from really heinous evil acts.
Yes.
And this is one of them.
They use it as a cover, I only did it because
I was just practicing my religion.
I'm required by my faith to do this.
And that's what they
the line.
That's how they argued this trial, was that the parents shouldn't be punished because they were just acting out their religious rights.
At a certain point, your religious rights do not trump the medical needs of a human being and the common respect and decency that should be afforded to a human being.
Yes. So, following the trial, the family did ask the authorities for permission to exhume the remains of their daughter because she had been buried quite hurriedly in a cheap coffin after, which again just shows me that they didn't care about her.
Yeah.
That only after all of this attention and media, now we're gonna bury her properly. But they literally said they buried her in undue hurry in a cheap coffin. 2 meters after the burial on February 25th, 1978, her remains were replaced in a new oak coffin lined with tin. The official report stated the body bore signs consistent with deterioration of a corpse of that age. The family and the priest were discouraged from viewing the remains. But Father Rentz later stated that he had been prevented from entering the mortuary altogether. Good. Her gravesite remains a pilgrimage site, as she is, quote, revered by small groups of Catholics who believe she atoned for wayward priests and sinful youth. Yep. Yeah, it's this whole thing. So the one and only good thing that came out of this is that after her demise and this trial, the number of officially sanctioned exorcisms in Germany decreased significantly. So they were more cautious about giving permission.
Yeah.
Her father, Joseph Michel, died in 1999. And in 2006, her mother, Anna, stated that she did not regret her actions, saying, quote, "I know we did the right thing because I saw the sign of Christ in her hands." Gross.
Okay.
But here we go. This is one little tidbit of
little nugget
karma.
Okay.
On June 6th, 2013, a fire engulfed the house where the Michels had lived. Although the local police determined it was a case of arson, some locals attribute the fire to the exorcism case.
Dang. Little hellfire for their sins.
Yep. So they got what was coming to them. It doesn't state whether anyone was injured or anything.
Right, just
they
a
lost
fire.
But this is one of the most publicized, well-known pieces of exorcism history, and has actually inspired several movies. The most recent one is called Annalise, The Exorcist Tapes, and came out in 2011.
Okay.
There's a film called Requiem that came out in 2006 that was inspired by this. But the most famous one, and honestly, I didn't know this when I started researching this, but this is the one and only horror movie that I can't rewatch. And that is the 2005 film, The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh, I've heard of that one. I have not seen it.
I can't watch it.
It's just unhinged.
I've watched it once, and I felt it's such a famous case is because they audio recorded every single exorcism, and the tapes are still accessible today.
Really?
And I have
a
YouTube video of some of that exorcism that we're going to listen to together.
Okay.
In which they claim that she speaks in multiple languages.
Oh, okay.
So the first clip is her normal speaking voice. So this is her normal speaking voice. She's a beautiful girl. And now this is the here of this quote, they claim this voices of all 6 demons that supposedly possessed her. Supposedly Cain. I think we get the point. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I just...
a little teary there.
It's just... And it's been a long-going debate, for centuries of, like, should exorcisms be legal? Should exorcisms be performed? I mean, they're so grueling, and they so often lead to at least injury, you know?
Injury, mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion.
I remember, like...
Trauma!
It's all trauma. Yeah, it's just, like, and I think today we have a much better understanding of, like, mental illness and, like, psychosis. And there is, like, so much psychosis that is religious-based. It's one of the telltale signs of schizophrenia is religious psychosis and religious obsession. And so, like, all of these people throughout the decades and centuries that have died or been harmed or been permanently locked up due to exorcism and belief that they're possessed when they're really just mentally ill.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. Like, I'm glad that I feel like you don't really hear about exorcisms today. I think they're more or less... I mean, I know they still happen.
But they're not as quite as widespread.
I don't think they're as widely publicized. I also think officially sanctioned exorcisms don't happen as often anymore. I think they're much more hard to come by. Like, for the Catholic Church to actually officially sanction an exorcism, it's pretty difficult. And probably smart that it has that many safeguards, like checks and balances. But that doesn't mean people aren't out here performing, like, backyard exorcisms. Just any lunatic with a Bible and a basic understanding of Latin.
Yeah.
It could be doing such serious harm. So it's just, I don't know. It's fascinating, but it's also heartbreaking at the same time.
Yeah.
That this, like, exists.
You gotta walk the line with it.
Well, on that depressing note, should we tarot it up?
What's next month?
Let's find out what we're talking about next month. Ooh, I get to pick this month.
Yeah, I shuffled while you were relaying the tales.
This one.
Okay. What do we got?
We're getting it, the Page of Stakes.
Okay.
So we're stakes again. Looks like it's a picture of Harmony with her unicorn there.
We drew from the Buffy deck.
So we got the Page of Stakes, or the Page of Wands would be. They use stakes because it's Buffy, but it's really...
Yeah.
Page of Wands. Tarot card. All right. The Page of Wands represents new beginnings, inspiration, a surge of creative energy.
Ooh.
This is on par for us. Encourages you to embrace passions, explore new opportunities, and take action in your dreams. Ooh, so we can incorporate some dream stuff.
Okay.
Can signify a time of excitement, curiosity, and adventure, urging you to trust your instincts and step outside of your comfort zone.
Okay.
Well, that was quite the episode.
Yeah, we were all over the place.
Good, exciting, fun, cute little critters to, like, full-on demons. It's so wild.
You never know where we're gonna go. Shit gets weird here.
We get weird every month. So stay tuned for whatever weirdness comes next month.
With some more creature features.
What in the world?
And spooky spotlights.
Hells yeah. But yeah, I think that's it for this time.
Cool beans.
We've been weird and wild. I've been Kelly.
I've been Carson.
We'll see you next time.
Stay weird.
Stay weird.